Americans are working 2 or more jobs. Work time is increasing while leisure time is reducing. Others are faced with too much responsibility to do everything while others have to work extra hours beyond their usual schedule. Median wages have dropped from $479 to $475 a week, factoring in inflation. Is the American dream falling on hard times? According to the Bureau of Labor Statistics, average real wages have been reducing since the middle of the 1970s. There's something absolutely wrong somewhere. This is very un-American, and the prosperity of the economy is bypassing workers. If you feel like your income hasn't kept up with rising prices, you are not alone. Welcome to Savvy Economists and the sad tale of the unfair treatment of American workers in various work stratas. We will discuss how happy average American workers are now working in an undervalued system. Please watch, like, and share this video. Drop your comments and observations below and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. Let's dive right in. A Bankrate survey reveals that over half, about 55%, of workers with their incomes cannot keep up with rising household expenses amid persistent high inflation. Inflation has run at the highest levels in more than 4 decades and stripped buying power away from households of all walks of life, says Greg McBride, CFA, Bankrate chief financial analyst. Even half of those receiving a pay raise, getting a promotion, or taking on new responsibilities said that higher pay falls short of the increase in household expenses. The latest inflation showed on Friday morning that prices may be starting to ease from record levels, but financial stress among workers amid the steepest inflation in 4 decades remains as high as ever. 2/3 of American workers say their salaries are not keeping up with inflation, and the percentage of employees considering quitting a job is at a 4-year high, according to a new CNBC Momentive Workforce survey. 60% of workers stated that the current inflation has outpaced any salary gains they've made in the past 12 months. Coupled with the fact that they get ill treatment from their employees and their services get devalued. A worker reported that since he worked at CVS after graduating with a degree in special education, it was difficult for him to find a job in his field. For that reason, he started work in several roles like supervisor, technician, and assistant manager. Ken liked working in the company, but things changed, and not for the better. According to Ken, the company thought of the employees first before anything else. They gave work bonuses and threw barbecue parties to appreciate workers. But those gestures have mainly gone away. Instead, the company is asking for more from its staff. Take a prescription off the phone from a doctor, go get a drive-through, go help the 3 people in line, pick up the 3 people waiting on hold, said Ken, 32. Then lately there's talk that we're actually going to be vaccinating patients. We're going to be getting certified to actually give flu shots and stuff like that, but we're not going to get paid any extra. To some extent, companies started outsourcing jobs such as janitors, elevator attendant, and the like to other companies. According to Ken, some workers are not even aware that their employer doesn't work in the company where they report to work daily. They may discover it after acquiring an injury or lose their job only to realize that they are not protected by the employment rules and safety protections that traditional workers are. A lot of risk has been shifted onto individual workers who are much less able to deal with that risk, Ken said. There is no definitive data on how many Americans are now employed in these workplace structures, but experts say they're increasingly common. More American workers at multiple income levels express their frustration as the price of goods continues to outweigh wage gain, and the effect is high among middle-income workers. This is especially true with workers' earnings income below $50,000. 39% of workers have considered quitting in the last quarters. This is the highest percentage ever experienced from last November. Inflation is absolutely a driver in worker turnover right now, said Laura Ronsky, Senior Manager of Research Science at Momentive. Workers who say their salary has outpaced inflation are the least likely to say they've considered quitting their job in the last 3 months. Real wage growth across the wage distribution is down, and the middle-income workers seem to be in the worst position. Keeping workers happy is a very low priority, Milkman said. The way workers are being treated makes it difficult for them to give their best. Workers are denigrated and devalued as stakeholders. When workers had more power, they had a larger share of that income and of that income growth. They don't have that now, said Milkman. White, a data center manager, said he feels grateful for the work he has now. But his pay is just 70% of what it once was. and there are fewer opportunities to advance. They may or may not care about you too much, personally, White said of the tech services firm that is now his employer. You're filling a slot for them for that client. They're not as engaged. Workers are working on a fundamental imbalance as they are paying a higher price while their employers are raking in the profits. But this can change. There's the chance to go higher and employers could make a different choice. Quit rates are elevated across the wage distribution, but the record level of workers thinking about quitting doesn't directly overlap with the middle wage worker squeeze, because the highest level of quits is among the lower wage jobs where the highest level of openings exist. Low-wage workers are able to job hop, finding new opportunities at higher wage levels. Really high-income workers, those making $150,000 and above per annum, are more likely to be in jobs that have been able to boost salaries by the most, so even if they've stayed in their role, they've seen their salaries grow, Ronsky said. The quit rates in the COVID economy show the biggest spikes in low-wage sectors, including retail and food services. No-knowledge worker jobs are more concentrated in the middle-income bracket. Not only are workers overworked, underpaid, and undervalued, but the poor and middle class pay more taxes than the richest Americans. According to data retrieved by ProPublica from Internal Revenue Service data on the tax returns of thousands of the nation's wealthiest people for over 15 years. The data, which covers the wealthiest American titans such as Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Rupert Murdoch, and Mark Zuckerberg. The data revealed their income, taxes, investments, gambling winnings, stock trades, and even audit results. In summary, the report contradicts the cornerstone of the American tax system of everyone paying their fair share and the richest American pay the most. The IRS report details how the wealthiest can legally pay income that only a tiny fraction of the hundreds of millions, if not billions, their fortunes grow each year. It revealed that in 2007 and 2018, Jeff Bezos did not pay a penny of federal tax. Elon Musk, who was the second richest man in the world at the time, also paid no federal tax income. Michael Bloomberg managed to do the same in recent years. Billionaire investor Carl Icahn did it twice. George Soros paid no federal income tax 3 years in a row. Meanwhile, many Americans live paycheck to paycheck, amassing little wealth and paying the federal government a percentage of their income that rises if they earn more. In recent years, the median American household earned about $70,000 annually and paid 14% in federal taxes. The highest income tax rate, 37%, kicked in this year for couples on earnings above $628,300. America's billionaires have made themselves tax avoidance strategies beyond the reach of ordinary people. Their wealth has come from ever-increasing values from their assets such as property and stocks, and these gains are not defined by the United States law as taxable unless the billionaire sells them. This is some of the reasons why federal budgets, apart from military spending, have been constrained for decades. Social services have withered and the solvency of Social Security and Medicare is perpetually in question. Taxes are a kind of collective sacrifice. No one loves giving their hard-earned money to the government. But the system works only as long as it's perceived to be fair. Our analysis of tax data for some of the richest Americans quantifies just how unfair the system has become. By the end of 2018, the sum of 25 billionaires' tax payments were worth $1.1 trillion. In comparison, that amount would take 14.3 million ordinary American wage earners put together to amount to that kind of wealth. The average American household might pay about 14%, and for many households the remaining of their income goes towards expenses and maybe a tiny amount going for savings. Former Treasury Secretary Joseph Barr surprised the nation when he revealed that the Americans making over $200,000, that's $1.6 million today, had paid no taxes. That group, he told the Senate, included most millionaires. Warren Buffett is one apparent exception. He broke ranks with his billionaire cohort to call for higher taxes on the rich. In a famous New York Times op-ed in 2011, Buffett wrote, "My friends and I have been coddled long enough by a billionaire-friendly Congress. It's time for our government to get serious about shared sacrifice." He publicly revealed how much he had paid in personal federal taxes the previous year, $6.9 million. Separately, Forbes estimated his fortune had risen $3 billion that year. Using that information, an observer could have calculated his true tax rate. It was 0.2%. But then, as now, the discussion that ensued on taxes was centered on the traditional income tax rate. A few countries, including Switzerland and Spain, have wealth taxes on a small scale. Several, most recently France, have abandoned them as unworkable. Opponents contend that they are complicated to administer, as it is hard to value assets, particularly of private companies and property. ProPublica's data shows that while some wealthy Americans, such as hedge fund managers, would pay more taxes under the current Biden administration proposals, the vast majority of the top 25 would see little change. Recently, there has been a strong movement to overhaul the budget and tax system in the U.S. One proposal favors a flat tax system similar to Hong Kong's. Such a change in policy could cause a striking rise in savings, standard of living, economic growth, and investment of the average American wage earner. Now Americans' workers are even skipping their utility bill payment. High energy prices continue to cast a shadow over the economy. Reason being that the system hardly allows them to conveniently fend for their household. Americans have been dealing with sticker shock as high natural gas and coal prices, along with high demand amid heat waves, drove up utility bills this summer. A separate Bank of America report found the average monthly payment for utilities was up 16.3% year over year in August. The utility bills have become so high that some families are struggling to keep up. A Bank of America survey of consumers found that 17% of households had either missed or made a late payment on utilities. That figure rises to 25% for those making less than $50,000. So what can Americans' workers do since they can't fold their hands and need to strive? Vicky Salemi, career expert at Monster.com, best advice for workers to get better treatment and pay is to look for new job opportunities externally. You should also talk to your current boss if you feel underpaid. You may want to ask for a bigger bonus or additional paid time off. Since high-income paying jobs may have better specs, you can get additional training, certification, or educational attainment that can pay off quickly in an economic downturn. As an American, what do you think about the whole American system and how employers handle their workers? As an American, how is your view of the country's policy on taxation? Please drop your thoughts and observations below. To support us, please watch, like, and share our videos. You can also subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications for more videos like this. Thanks for watching.